What's good? It's John Teller, and today we're going to teach you how to set up your newest skateboard. We're going to learn how to grip it. We're going to learn what type of bolts you need to use, how to pick out the perfect truck, how to get your bearings in and out of your wheels, and which wheels to pick as well. So stick around and we'll get right into it.
One time for the one time, two time for the good vibe, three time get it just
What's good? Y'all already know who it is. And today we're going to show y'all exactly how to put together a board and what everything on it does for you. I got pretty much all new pieces, except we're going to use these wheels and bearings. They still got a lot of life left in them, and I'm really enjoying both of these brands, but we'll get into that later. Today we're going with a 8 1/4 inch crooked deck. It's a Bobby Morris Pro board. It's 31.5 inches long, so it's great for you shorter people, anybody under 6 foot. And the wheelbase is actually 13.88 inches. So most boards are 14 or 14 1/4. So that should help me a lot when it comes to getting my flip tricks, like my kick flips or heel flips down. It's an all wood board. Today we went with the classic Jessup grip tape. And I know for a board setup, I should just show y'all how to grip a deck normally. But I'm a weird guy and I always got to put a design in my grip tape. So your grip tape is basically sandpaper. It's got an adhesive on the back. Some brands nowadays, they'll perforate it so you help stray away from air bubbles. I'm gonna get the grip exactly where I want it so I can visualize it. Tear a piece off, stick it, and I'll use the wheels on this truck to air out the bubbles. So the grip tape is used for exactly that, gripping your feet to your board. Like I said, it's got the adhesive on one side, basically sandpaper on the other. It grips really well to the rubber soles of shoes, and that's why certain people like skating leather and certain people like skating nubuck or suede, because it gives you more or less grip depending on what your shoe's made out of. Now you can see me having a little bit of trouble with air bubbles because I'm trying to get this diagonal line that helps me visualize where the kick is for my flip tricks. So once you finally got it all down, you take the side of your screwdriver, or in this case, your John Teller skate tool, and you use that file part. Not only am I sanding it down to help the grip tape stick, but also so we can cut it well, get it off the board nice and easy. Alright, so I thought I had a razor blade, but I forgot that bitch, so shout out moms for the new pocket knife. Normally you cut something, I always say cut away from you so you don't cut yourself, but you get a better cut on the grip if you cut towards yourself. So you just get it and you try to get one good clean cut all the way around. Of course, my worst grip job in a long time is the one on camera. I like to take some of the excess, and especially since I did a design, I'll smooth out the middle so it stays down on the board better. And then I'll go around the edge one more time too. So it was a little shoddy, but I think it came out pretty good. Got a nice diagonal design, little one stripe. They always say there's no perks to being a but none of my pieces fit through the screw hole, the bolt holes. So I'm gonna take my toker poker, shout out Bella Sunrise for the toker poker, and I gotta make a little point in each bolt hole, so I'm not taking the grip tape off of the board while I do this, but I'm also letting myself know where all the bolts are on the right side. Today, normally I would just get your typical 1-inch Phillips head hardware. You know, I get Independent sometimes I get Shorties, your typical brands. But I got some new Grind King trucks, so I wanted to try out their rocket bolts. Their rocket bolts are special, not because they look cool, but they don't have a Phillips or an Allen top. All you do is screw it in, and the way that they're designed, it tightens as you screw the nut onto the bolt. That way you don't go too deep into your deck, because you can cause pressure cracks before you even get on it if you do that, and it stays tighter longer that way. And you don't have to worry about stripping your screws, so your bolts last longer. You know, Grind King has always been seen as this gimmick brand, but they've always tried to be innovative with their products, and I feel like rocket bolts definitely speaks true to the innovation they try to bring to the table, because it's prolonging the life of your board, it's prolonging the life of your bolts, and that makes you spend less money. So this is actually the front of the board, and Grind King will give you 2 silver bolts along with the 6 black bolts. That way you can differentiate the top of your board with the bottom of your board. It helps you remember the nose and the tail when you're out on the field. So let's get those bolts in. You know, most people stay true to their truck brand. A lot of people say there's not much difference that trucks can have from each other. There are a lot of different brands, and a lot of different brands do bring things to the table. Like I said about the bolts, Grind King has always been looked at as this gimmick truck brand because of some of the things that they make, like trucks that spark when you do tricks, and different designs. They gave you American flag and flames and whatever. But Grind King was actually the creator of the inverted kingpin. So the inverted kingpin helps you get more clearance when you're grinding or doing things like that. The inverted kingpin usually takes less metal, so it makes your trucks lighter. And it's just the easier way to tighten your truck, so you just get an Allen wrench. Now there's a lot of other things that these trucks do. So most trucks on the bottom, they're square on each corner. These are rounded, so that's gonna help you prevent pressure cracks longer, and it's gonna give them more snug fit. They also have 3 bolt holes for every bolt. That helps you play with the wheelbase some more. You can make your wheelbase on your board shorter, you can make it longer, or just put it in the middle and keep it at the intended size that the board was made for. These are called the Grind King lockers. So they actually come with some grooves pre-grooved in. It's supposed to help you lock into your grinds just a little bit easier. You know, a lot of people say, oh, that'll just be for beginners. I want to get my own grooves when I do grinds. I think that not only will it help you feel how to get these certain tricks better, but it will, yes, indeed, end up making it easier for you. I just think that they're really trying to help skateboard culture, and they're a good company to support. almost forgot, since these don't have any Phillips or Allen heads, you got to kind of bang them in a little bit to get them started. See if that gave me enough room. Boom, all right. So just like when you're changing a tire, I always go from one side and then I go diagonal to the opposite side. I like to get all my nuts on the bolts before I fully tighten any of them. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the second truck on there loosely as well. Now in the future, I might bring these trucks to that last bolt hole just so I can see if a little smaller wheelbase will help me out. But for now, I wanna try the wheelbase that the deck was intended to have. So we're just gonna go with the middle. All right, so I got all those nuts on. We're gonna take the John Teller tool, and if they do work as they are said and intended to work, I should just be able to tighten it all the way to how I want it without any Phillip head or screwdriver. It should sink in, and the star shape is gonna help it from digging deep into your skateboard and causing any early cracks. And even when I try to stray away from using power tools to quickly put a board together, I always get at least one bolt deep in that board, and it pisses me off the whole time I have that deck. And yeah, it actually worked pretty well. The points of the stars are digging in and it's staying flush. And I'm just getting it tight enough to where it's not gonna turn when I try to give it a little oomph. I know you're probably thinking, why the hell did you go with that ugly ass orange? And when I saw this light blue Walrus deck, I thought, I want to try the Grind King lockers, and that light blue reminds me of my middle school colors, so I had to go with the orange. Grind King's trying to use the orange as their base color, I think, and it just kind of reminded me, gave me some nostalgia. You know, I like to get creative with my boards and put a little reasoning behind them sometimes. I had orange grip tape, but I wanted to get some light blue. I couldn't find the right light blue, so I just went with the diagonal stripe this time. Now the one thing that I'm not excited about when I get a new board, especially when it's all new pieces, everything's a little different. I basically have the same deck size and shape, but these trucks are definitely a little taller than my older trucks. So the timing for your pop and your tricks is gonna be a little different because your board doesn't get to the ground as quick or as slow as your previous trucks if they're a different size. Now most people go for a truck that's the exact same size of your board, meaning if I have an 8 1/4 board, I'm going for trucks that are also 8 1/4. But back in the day, I heard Andrew Reynolds talk about how he rides an 8.5 deck. That's an 8.5 inch deck and uses 8-inch trucks. And he's just always done that, and it helps him feel more comfortable, and it works for his tricks. And ever since I heard him do that, I've tried it and I feel like I like it a lot. So I always keep the 8-inch truck on the 8 1/4 board. It just flips a little bit easier. It's not that much truck to deal with, so I get a little bit more weight taken off of my board. All right, now that you got your trucks on there, all you got left is wheels and bearings. Unfortunately, I don't have new ones for y'all today to show you, but we're gonna take these bearings out and just show you the whole process anyway. Every set of truck will come with 2 washers for each wheel. They go on the outside of the wheel. A lot of pros, some have little tips and tricks or life hacks that they use, like a shod wear. He'll only put 3 washers in between the truck and the wheel. He won't put one in between the wheel and the bolt, so you get a little extra clearance when grinding. I don't see how like 1/2 millimeter really helps, but he's pro, so. Bet you're wondering, John, if your wheels have a lot of life left in them and your bearings still got life left in them, why aren't you using these trucks that look brand new? Well, I like lower trucks, like I said, but these are just a little bit too low. And they're 8 1/4 trucks. That was around the time I was really realizing I need to stay on those 8-inch trucks like I always did. I was trying to go 8 1/4 just to do the right thing. So what I'm gonna do is give these trucks away, and these aren't the only lightly used trucks that I have, and I've got some brand new wheels, and I've got some brand new 8 1/4 Grind King locker trucks. So I'm gonna start doing some giveaways for y'all, do some skateboard parts. You might get some John Teller shirts in the mix. Who knows? So y'all stay tuned for that. Alright, so now that we got all these wheels off, I put the washers back on these trucks since I'm not using them, but I'm gonna use them to pop the bearings out. So just like that. You take the end of the truck, kind of put it in the hole of the bearing at an angle, and you just flick it out. Now it's a little harder on these wheels because on one side it's got a much deeper pocket for the bearing because they're an asymmetrical wheel. When you put it on the truck, the back doesn't have as deep of a pocket. That way you have more clearance when grinding. Now the front side has that deeper pocket, so when you put the bearings on and everything and then you screw your nut back in, it protects that nut and that axle from stripping. That way your trucks last longer and you can change different wheels out. That's part of the problem on my old board. I still like the trucks and they're not broken yet, but if I take the wheels that need to be changed and the bearings that need to be changed off, I'm not gonna be able to screw it back on from all the wear and tear of falling or damaging the board along the way. These bearings were just a little dirty. All they really needed was a wipe, but that's really not how you clean your bearings. This time I went with the Shake Junt Triple OGs because they came with spacers. The spacers connect your bearings on the inside of the wheel. That way when you tighten them all the way down, it helps them from breaking. They last longer and it keeps the pressure on the bearings so they can do their job. So like I said, every truck comes with 2 washers. I leave one on there to stay in between the wheels. Put a bearing down, then a spacer, and you take your wheel and you just push it down. So now it's in all snug. I get my other bearing, and this time, because I'm a dumb, this time you put the spacer in. You press it down. So a lot of people always put the design on the inside. I don't know why, that's just always been a thing in skateboarding, but because of the deeper pocket that we were talking about, I'm not gonna do that. Make sure you put your washer back before you tighten that nut on. And then since we did put a spacer in, I can tighten this nut all the way down. A lot of people like to keep some room. Jamie Foy will actually keep a good bit of room to do something similar to what a shod does with the washers. He keeps that wheel wiggling a little bit, so when he locks into a grind, it pushes that wheel out and kind of helps that lock in really stick. But since we've got spacers, I tighten it all the way, and we got a nice good wheel. So we're gonna get all those other wheels back on since they're already ready. I'm just gonna give a good wipe down. And we showed you how to put the spacer in, how to take the bearings out, and how to put the bearings back into a wheel. So we're just gonna scroll through this part real quick. So you just repeat that process. We've already got the bearings and the spacers in already. So we're gonna tighten these down. And that will be the last thing we need to do to get this board on the road. So these are the Andy Anderson Nano Cubic wheels by Powell Peralta using their Dragon urethane formula. Pretty much all wheels are made out of urethane, but different brands use a different formula for their main wheel and other types of wheels that they might make. Now, what most people really look after is the durometer, which is the hardness of the wheel. The higher the number, the harder the wheel is. But even though these are a 97A, the formula for these wheels make them a little bit smoother and softer while still keeping the strength and slide of a harder wheel, which is mainly why I wanted to try these out, on top of them being asymmetrical, extending the lifespan of your truck. I have been needing to try out some Spitfires, haven't rode those since I was a kid, and people on my TikTok are going crazy saying use the Formula 4s, use the Formula 4 conical fulls, so we'll have some reviews coming soon. And speaking of that, that is the other thing besides hardness that people look for in wheels is the shape. The shape of the wheel can help you ride over coping or lock into a grind better depending on what you're looking for. As for bearings, they are what help your wheels spin freely around the axle without causing any friction. They provide speed, stability, and agility for your board. That way you can perform tricks better. Now, certain bearings are better than others, but find what you like and stick with it. So once you've got your wheels tightened down, your board is ready to skate. Today we taught you how to grip a deck. We tried out some new bolts that don't have any places to screw them in that worked great. We learned about trucks and the things that actually need to be innovated on them, so shout out Grind King for everything they're doing. We learned how to put bearings in and out of a wheel with the use of your trucks, and we figured out the best wheels you could possibly get. There's not much else to say. I hope y'all learned something and stick around for more content. Peace.
What you thought them was for, boy? You nuts?
Yeah, I know it's for skateboarding. I figured it'd work.
Oh, shit.
But the road sits still, my wheels are turning. But the road sits still, my wheels are turning. But the road sits still, moving too fast. You know the deal. My wheels are turning. But the road sits still, moving too fast. You know the deal. Can't wait to get older. But the rocks you collect turn into a boulder that's over your shoulder.
Yo, catch.
Whoa!
You used to would kill. Up all night on the couch, losing my courage and breaking down pills. Eating shrooms to reach an Nashville. And my chakras locked just like the oil